Number one. Number one, did Jesus answer his accusers? Again, as they say, the answer is no, according to Matthew 27. Let's look at the passage itself, verses 11 through 14. Now Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus said to him, "It is as you say." And while he was being accused by the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then Pilate said to him, "Do you not hear how many things they testify against you?" But he answered him not one word, so that the governor marveled greatly. Now, what we actually see in the passage when we don't just give a verse reference, but we read it, is we see that Jesus offers no defense of himself against specific accusations. This is in the context a courtroom defense. The idea of Jesus not answering a word doesn't mean that Jesus became, like a mime from the moment of his, arrest until the end of the crucifixion or something. It's specifically about him not giving a courtroom defense to get himself out of being in trouble. How do we know this? Well, verse 11 proves that verse 14 can't mean Jesus was utterly silent, right? Jesus said to him, "It is as you say." And then in the very same context, but he answered him not a word. Well, what is he not answering a word about? The things they testify against him. The things they testify against him. So, that puts it in context, right? So then the counter passage is John 18, where they say Jesus did answer his accusers. And let's read it. It says, "Then Pilate entered the praetorium again, called Jesus and said to him, 'Are you the king of the Jews?' Jesus answered him, 'Are you speaking for yourself about this, or did others tell you this concerning me?'" And then he goes on to affirm that he is the king of the Jews. Now, even in the first passage, we see Jesus having conversation with Pilate. So it's not as though he was mute. We don't think he was mute. We just think he didn't defend himself. This is entirely consistent. So the conclusion is what? Jesus, he didn't defend himself, but he did speak. He spoke simply not in his own defense. And the context of John shows Jesus, if you look at the whole passage, the whole chapter, in fact, John 18:28, it says that they themselves, the Jews, did not enter the praetorium lest they be defiled, because they considered it an unclean location, a Gentile place. So Jesus is here having a conversation with just Pilate. So it's no longer courtroom defense. And what does he say? He doesn't defend himself. In fact, what he says serves to condemn him. He affirms that he's a king. This is, in fact, the thing he gets crucified for from the Roman perspective. Well, the only king is Caesar. You're not defending yourself. In fact, all you've done is affirm that you do think you're a king. All right, you're going to get crucified. My hands are tied. I have to crucify you. There's no way for me around this. I can't release someone who claims to be a king. So what's the solution for the first supposed contradiction? Jesus wasn't silent during the entirety of his trial and persecution. No text in context suggests that he was. He simply did not try to defend himself to avoid being crucified. I think, in all honesty, a critic should be somewhat embarrassed to put this in print as a supposed contradiction. Now, I'm not going to say this over and over again throughout the thing, but if a casual reading of the passage shows that this is not a contradiction, then somebody who keeps saying it is and posting this on the web and making blogs about it and bragging these statements in debates, and they should be embarrassed. This is silly. This is highly either uninformed or intentionally, purposely deceptive. I don't see another option here.